Hey everybody, here I am, Rick Lewis with Pivot to the Podium. I've joined, or actually started, a club called 52V, and we have made a commitment to each other to post one video a week. It's 6 a.m. and I'm going to be on the road for the next few days, so I won't have a chance to publish or post my video later in the week, so I need to do it before I go. So here I am. You're getting to see the real me first thing in the morning before I take off for a day and several days of travel and work. And I didn't know what I was going to talk about. But then when I got up this morning, there was an email in my inbox from a gentleman by the name of Joseph Rivers, who has a Substack publication called The Campfire. And Joseph seemed to be playing in the same space that I'm playing in. We both are interested in stories and storytelling and human connection. And Joseph and I had a little back and forth, maybe even a couple of months ago. And just out of the blue this morning, I got an email from Joseph asking if I'd be willing to be interviewed, basically. He was suggesting in written form, he was going to ask me some questions, and then I would respond to the questions, and I asked him if I could do it via video. So that email came in this morning, and here I am. I've got something to talk about. So I'm going to run through Joseph's list of questions here quickly, and that's going to be my video for the week. So first one, let's check in. What's top of mind for you right now? Well, I'm about to hit the road. I've got a gig coming up tomorrow. I've got to prep for this presentation on the way, create the slide deck. So that's what I've got going on. And then getting this video up and running, or getting this video published for this week. Number two, the pace and digital nature of modern life can make meaningful engagement and connection difficult. What do you find most challenging? What a great, I didn't even read through these questions in advance. This is a great question because here I am allowing myself to be fully at the effect of the pace of modern life, trying to squeeze in this video and get a bunch of stuff done. But what I actually like about this, it says, what do you find most challenging? What I find most challenging is my desire to make things perfect. So this is an example with the video. I would much prefer whatever video I'm going to post this week to go over it again and again, do a bunch of different versions and takes. But this is an opportunity for me to just kind of let go, relax. Things don't have to be perfect. And this is much more the nature of speaking than most people realize. Like, I think often when we think of speaking, or a lot of people think of speaking or giving a public address, we think it has to be rehearsed and polished and highly refined. And the truth is, most of the speaking that we do, and a lot of the speaking that I do on stage, is improvisational in nature. And the whole idea is that you are engaging in your life, you're in conversation with other people, you're feeding yourself with impressions, resources, and information that when it comes time to speak, they're there top of mind. And you can be a speaker who's effective, who is somewhat clear and useful in a moment that you haven't necessarily prepared for. So I find it challenging to not try and make things perfect before I engage or put something out. Good question. Question 3, what was the last thing you did to disconnect or slow down? Oh, that's cool. So yesterday I had a bunch that I needed to do before hitting the road here at home with my family, and I knew the Super Bowl was playing. And as the day wore on, I was feeling more and more uncomfortable that I was going to spend my entire last day at home with my family around, just working. So on the spur of the moment, I went downstairs and I said, hey, do you guys want to watch the Super Bowl? Now, none of us are Super Bowl fans or football fans. We don't watch football at all. But, Super Bowl, what a phenomena. and how many millions of people are watching the same thing. So I thought it might be fun to take a break and watch the Super Bowl. So I did. I stopped. We made a huge plate of nachos here at home, and we watched the Super Bowl. And oh my God, am I so glad we watched that game. It was one of the most exciting Super Bowls I can remember in my lifetime. I have watched lots of them in the past, and I can tell you, this was a phenomenal show, a truly fantastic spectator game. So that's the last thing I did to disconnect or slow down. Number 4, what helps you stay connected to other people? That's a good question. Well, again, slowing down. Actually, I have a whole story about this, of something that happened this week, which I'll probably try and do an essay or a video on. But basically what happened was my son's iPhone is kind of acting funny, and the screen got locked. And when my son, just 2 nights ago, picked up his phone to try and unlock his screen, it accidentally started playing in the middle of some strange song, like a band he listens to. But in the middle of this song, there's this like emergency DEFCON sound. So, you know, the kind of like you'd see in a movie where there's an emergency in a submarine, you know, this loud noise. So when he picked up his phone, it started making this noise. We didn't know it was playing a random clip from the middle of a song. All we heard was this emergency DEFCON sound. So my son was really confused, and he's looking at the phone, and so he shakes it really hard. Well, here's another thing we didn't know, which is when you shake your phone like this, at least here in Canada, it automatically calls 911. So 911 suddenly comes on the phone and says, "What's your emergency?" And now we're all flipped out because we think the DEFCON sound has something to do with the fact that 911 is now on the line, and did they somehow call us? Is there an emergency going on that we don't know about? So my son hands the phone to my wife because he's freaked out. And my wife's sitting there with the phone in her hand, just kind of staring at it. And the person on the other end is going, "Hello, you know, what's happening? What's your emergency?" And my wife doesn't know what to say because she doesn't know if this is a prank call or some other kind of, you know, something weird that she doesn't understand what's going on. So she's not saying anything, which of course makes the 911 person think this person is really in trouble. So the person is saying, "Are you free to talk? Are you in danger?" And so finally my wife starts engaging with the 911 person, but because of the long silence, it takes her, she's got to go through this long conversation with 911, who has a script, I'm sure, and they have to verify in all these different ways by asking all these questions that there's not actually an emergency. So this is what happened. And then when we finally got off the 911 call, we were all totally rattled. My son was rattled, my wife was rattled, I was rattled, but we all handle being rattled in a different way. I want to get really quiet and just digest what's happened. My son needs to talk. He needs to talk this through. And my wife wants to take action. And so, despite her being frozen on the phone when, in this emergency, so we wound up having a 2-hour conversation, which was all about our emergency style. And all of us wanted to do our own thing in our own way, and all of our ways of handling an emergency were clashing in that moment when we were getting kind of dysregulated as a family unit. And we all had to slow down and just listen to each other describe what our preference is for how to handle an emergency. And it turned out to be a really, really useful experience for us to unpack together as a family. Okay, so what helps? That was what helps you stay connected to other people. So slowing down, the willingness to slow down after that happened and just connect with each other and communicate. What's one simple thing you get a lot of joy from? Presenting and performing. I love being in front of a room and just waking up a crowd of people, presenting something that's surprising and dynamic and engaging, that makes people laugh and has them walking away going, I never expected that. Yes, and that is, it says, what's one simple thing you get a lot of joy from? Non-tech based. So that's non-tech based, speaking directly to people face to face. Number 6, are you part of any communities in the general sense of the word? What do you get from them? Yes, I actually joined a writing cohort called Rite of Passage almost 2 years ago now, about a year and a half ago. And I met some wonderful, fantastic friends and writers through taking that course, and we're still in touch. And as a matter of fact, my Pivot to the Podium entire business kind of came out of Rite of Passage. A lot of the people who are subscribers to my Pivot to the Podium project are from Rite of Passage. And a lot of the friends that I'm doing this video challenge with are also from Rite of Passage. So I get a lot from just having relationships with these co-creators who are trying to do a similar thing as me, provide useful, be a value creator, as my friend Tim Sweetman says. So I get a lot from those relationships. Number 7, what do you know today that you wish you knew 5 years ago? When starting a business, especially an online business, the first thing you need to do is just get in conversation with people. And I've tried various online businesses over the last 5 years, probably 4 or 5 of them. And what I've done every time is I build out a platform, I start creating content, and then start exposing people to it or publishing it, and finding out only after the fact, okay, this isn't working. The first thing you want to do, and I got this tip from David Perel, who is the founder of Rite of Passage, when I mentioned I wanted to get Pivot to the Podium going, he said, just talk to people. Go talk to people about your idea and find out what they want and need, which I did, and made a huge difference in Pivot to the Podium really getting some traction. Number 8, what was the last thing you learned about? What was the last thing I learned about? Well, I was just reading an email this morning to someone I subscribe to. It's a Substack by a gentleman named Mac. He just uses one name. And I think it's called, I don't remember the name of his publication, although I read it all the time. I think it's called Overthinking. That may be. Anyway, I'll put it in the notes to when I publish this video. I was reading this essay by Mac this morning. Oh, Thinking Loudly. That's what it is. Thinking Loudly is the name of his publication. And I've been following Mac for a year and a half as a writer. And he did this really great post this morning where he talked about culling his email subscribers. And when I read it, one, it's great because he talks about his inner process, what it felt like, the idea of actually getting rid of subscribers, and then why he chose to follow through and do that. And it made me think of one, best practices for myself as a writer, having subscribers. But then it made me think about my responsibility as a subscriber to other publications. And it's funny what our relationship to free content is. When we're getting something for free, we immediately think, oh, I'm free to ignore this from week to week. I can get the content. If I want to read it, I can. If I don't want to read it, I don't have to, and it's passive. I don't need to do anything in relationship to it. But I try and comment on the Substack subscriptions I'm subscribed to. I try and give something back, because if we just take things for free, what happens is the quality of that thing isn't refined. It doesn't evolve. I mean, it may if the writer is a thoughtful, engaged person. But when there's no feedback from the audience, it's very difficult for a creator to improve what they're delivering to us. So when we take free stuff as free and we don't engage, we're actually participating in the flatlining or plateauing of what we're receiving. Even possibly that the source of that is going to go away entirely, because who would keep publishing into a void? So it just made me think about our responsibility as subscribers, even of free content, to feed something back to those who are producing it. So I would say that's my answer to what was one thing you learned about today. Number 9, who inspires you at the moment and why? My son. My son is 14, and I'm just watching. When you're a parent, it's an incredible thing to watch a human being become a human being. And that's what happens in parenting. Before you're a parent, you think, oh, as a parent, you play such a role in shaping that person's life, and they become who they become based on your inputs to them. But really, we're much more bystanders than you would think. You're just watching this human being develop into their own person and have their own ideas and their own preferences and talents and skills and navigating their challenges. It's just an amazing thing. And my son inspires me, the way he's growing up and living his life and how thoughtful and articulate he's becoming. So that's a person who inspires me. Number 10, we're almost to the end. What's one thing you're working on that we should know about? Well, this video project. I'm on, I guess this is my second video, my second or third, and my plan is to publish one every week for the next year in my 52V club. There's still room, so if you're a Pivot to the Podium subscriber and you want to join in on 52V, it's a fabulous way to practice speaking. It just gives you a goal each week where you get the opportunity to practice being articulate about what you're thinking about and your ideas and your stories. And finally, number 11. I don't know why there are 11 questions, but there are. This is the last one. Finally, you've spent the evening around a crackling fire with like-minded people. What are you going to take away? I guess this must somehow relate to Joseph's, the name of his publication, The Campfire. Sorry, I didn't read the whole email, Joseph. Oh, at the beginning of the email it says, imagine yourself around a campfire, throw a log on and take a seat. Okay, well, I guess I've been holding forth here in this campfire conversation. If I imagine I'm sitting around a campfire, I just made everybody listen to me talk for quite a while. So thanks for staying. If you got all the way to the end of this video, I appreciate you hanging around and listening to what I had to say. And what I'm taking away is that it's very valuable to just practice telling your stories, speaking what's on your mind, and sharing with other people. The more you do that, the more comfortable you get with that process, and hopefully the more of a value provider you become by being an articulate, thoughtful person with stories to tell. So that's what I'm taking away. I hope you're taking away something. And Joseph, I hope this helps and is useful in some way for you and your subscribers. And for now, I will sign off. This is my 52V Pivot to the Podium submission for this week. Have a great week, everybody. See you next time.